What do Falcons do? Rise up. Welcome to Rise Up Reactions, the show we talk all things Falcons, NFL, Georgia sports, and in general the sports news of the day. I'm your host, Dr. Lee Denning, lifelong sports fan, and today is one of those sports news day. I did not watch the game last night. Apparently it was a high-flying affair in Arizona. I did pick the Cardinals to win, as did most of America. 3-1 picked the Cardinals. Didn't look good for them early, but apparently it was a high-flying game just based on the box score there. But the big news of the day, that's not what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about the Christian McCaffrey trade because it directly impacts the Falcons' chances going forward. Now, in two of the next 4 games, we play the Panthers. We play them in 2 weeks, and then we play them again 2 weeks after that. Just really weird that we've got them so close back to back. But again, we will be playing them without a head coach, without Christian McCaffrey, and without Robbie Anderson. So, what happened with this deal? Just looking at it this morning, you ended up with the San Francisco 49ers making a deal. The LA Rams were also on the market, although I think Darrell Henderson is a perfectly fine running back for them and has proven himself to them and somebody that they should be leaning on. But the 49ers make a lot of sense. They tried to be a run-heavy team, and when they couldn't get it done against the Falcons, who are supposed to be a bad defense overall, although if you look at the numbers, we have a top 10 rushing defense in the league right now and have through 6 games. I think that really jarred them. So they already didn't really have a first rounder for next year, but they did manage to give up a 2023 second round, a 2023 third round, a 2023 fourth round, and a 2024 fifth round pick. So a handful of picks to the Carolina Panthers for CMC. The Rams have also commented and said that, well, a first round pick was never on the market for them either. So this does boost the 49ers going forward. I'm very glad the Falcons have already played them. CMC has been a thorn in the Falcons' side since he got in the league. He has torn our defensive line apart almost every single game he's played us in. But, let's take a look real quick at the Carolina Panthers, because I do live relatively close to that region, and, they are in our division. So what do they look like going forward? They almost had no picks this past year, which has really hurt their rebuild because they went all in on a bunch of their other players that have not panned out. But they'll get a new coach in the offseason, so we don't know who that'll be yet. Honestly, if they could steal Dan Quinn away from the Cowboys, I think that would be a nice move overall. Somebody that I think deserves a shot at quarterback if they wanted to make a push to be a little bit more competitive this year, though I don't think they will. Over on the Philadelphia Eagles, you've got Gardner Minshew. I still think he is a top 32 quarterback. I was going to say top 25. I'm going to say top 32. I don't know how good he actually is, but he does deserve, based on his body of work, to be a starting quarterback somewhere. Now, not a lot of teams need a starting quarterback right now, or they're just going to roll out with what they've got. But the Panthers do need something there. I think Minshew would make a lot of sense. But Philadelphia is likely just holding on to him just in case something happens. But here's what the Panthers' outlook is going forward. They didn't have a lot to work with. They only had a first-round pick, and then they had a fourth-round pick after that in this year's draft. In the coming year's draft, they will have their own first-round pick, which looks to be a top 5 draft pick, meaning that all of their picks going forward for this coming year's draft will be early in the round that they are picking in. So first-round pick, I predict them to have top 5 there. They're going to have a second rounder of their own, which will be in the first 33 to 38 picks overall there. So you've got 2 picks in the top 40. The 49ers are probably going to finish with a winning record, so that's going to be probably the back end of the second round, looking in the mid-50s overall. I don't think they win the Super Bowl, and I don't think they go to the NFC Championship. But if they do, then you're talking about 60s for the pick. So not terrible there. They have a third rounder from the 49ers as well. They do not have a third rounder of their own, which is unfortunate for them. So they did gain another third rounder. Now that third rounder very likely, again, will be towards the back end, so in the kind of late 90s, most likely. They have their own fourth rounder, so they'll be turning around probably in the early hundreds there and picking again. And then they got another fourth rounder from the 49ers, and then they have their own fifth rounder. So, not a lot of draft picks here with Again, for next year, they do have multiple second rounders, which will help. So they are going to be picking in the top 63 times there. And then they have some mid-round picks, which they were missing out on this year, which they can build on going forward. They have officially hit their full-blown rebuild mode. I don't think any of the quarterbacks on their roster right now will find themselves there next year, which will free up a ton of cap. But as far as Christian McCaffrey's cap for them, this is going to be a little bit of a situation similar to the Falcons getting rid of Julio and Matt Ryan. They are going to have to eat a fair amount of cap over the next few years here. So let's see here. The dead cap is going to be $25.9 million altogether. He's going to account for $18.3 million of that next year, and then the remaining, about $7 million. After that, in 2024, they do also have $9.7 million from the Robbie Anderson trade that they'll have to eat up next year as well. So they're going to be looking at about $28 million overall in dead cap for two players next year, which will cripple them a little bit. Not as much as the Falcons have been crippled, but they should still free up a ton of money. They don't have to pay, they are still not having to pay Christian McCaffrey's base $12 million a year for the next 4 years. Which is good for them. And again, I think this is a positive step. Just like the Falcons have had to get rid of our major pieces, we tried to get rid of Calvin Ridley, or we're going to get rid of Calvin Ridley. But then he ended up in his gambling situation, which I still think was overly punished by the NFL. I understand why it was, but when you look at some of the other punishments around the league for things that were quite literally illegal, or at least have a much, much, much worse social connotation around them, it doesn't really make as much sense for Calvin Ridley's suspension in that light. But Calvin has made it pretty clear in the past, last season, that he did not want to play for the Falcons, looking for what receivers went for this past year with the Tyreek Hill trade, with the Devontae Adams trade, garnering multiple early round picks for both of them. I think that Calvin Ridley certainly could be worth some early round picks, maybe not a first rounder, but certainly some early round picks as he goes into the prime of his career. And it's something that we could use as the Falcons to build around going forward. But that's just kind of my thoughts on this whole situation. Christian McCaffrey, no longer the bad man of Carolina. Again, I think this helps the Falcons out tremendously in the division. I do think that gives us a clear advantage in our 2 games with them. We do have a little bit of a tough slate here for the Falcons. We do play the Bengals. However, Brandon Perna, that's good sports. He has what he lovingly calls in his power rankings the curse wheel. He ranked the Falcons at 7. He ranked the Bengals at 6, and he puts a random curse on the top 10 teams every single week. Guess who got the curse this week? And it wasn't the Dirty Birds. Cincinnati Bengals, I hope we sack Joe Burrow 10 times. You got the Brandon Perna curse, and the curse wheel is a real deal. So I do feel slightly better just for superstitious reasons for that game. We play the Panthers, we play the Chargers, again, who are not playing incredibly well. I will be at that November 6th game. And then we play the Panthers again on Thursday Night Football in Carolina. So that's our next 4 games. Then we have the Bears, Commies, Steelers, Saints. All of those are winnable. The Falcons are on the uptick here. I think we have a good shot at being the number 1 team in our division just because we have a relatively weak schedule overall going forward. We play some tough teams. We do play tough teams, but relatively weak overall. And now one of our division rivals just got a little bit weaker, and makes me a little bit happy for this year. It may come to bite us in the butt for years to come, depending on how these draft picks work out. But let me know what you think about the Christian McCaffrey trade down in the comments below. Would love to hear from Carolina fans, see what they think. I know some of my drug reps are Carolina fans. I'm so sorry that you're having to go through this right now. You now feel the Falcons' pain on the rebuilding side, but hey, look, you don't have to have stars to make a good, competent football team. You just need players that work well together, and that's what the Falcons have proven time and time again this season. Every single game, except for the one where we played the most complete game, have been decided by 1 score total. So, again, that's just my thoughts on this year, on the Falcons, on our division rivals. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments below. Consider liking this video. It will help the channel grow. Subscribe. That will also help my channel grow and reach more people. Until next time, guys, rise up.